We're talking about Gemini today, the sign of communication and misdirection. You think you know yourself better than anyone else, but do you really? I'm going to show you something that will make your skin crawl. A cold read that's so accurate. It'll feel like I'm staring into your soul. I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel the air fill your lungs, and then release it slowly. Now, I want you to recall a time when you felt completely lost, like you'd made a huge mistake that had serious financial consequences. Maybe it was a business deal gone sour, or a major investment that tanked. Whatever it is, remember how you felt anxious, panicked, regretful. Now, here's the thing. Most people can't recall that feeling because they've been trying to cover it up for years. They've been living with the guilt and shame of their mistake, but also making excuses to justify why it happened in the first place. It was a good idea at the time, or I just got lucky. But I'm here to tell you that those rationalizations are just a thin veil covering up your own self-doubt. You see, Gemini individuals like yourself have an incredible ability to think on their feet and come up with creative solutions to problems. But this also means that you can get caught up in the thrill of the chase and overlook the potential risks. You're so focused on making a deal or closing a sale that you forget to consider the consequences. That's why I want to ask you, what's one major financial mistake you've made in the past year? Don't think too hard, just let it come to you. And when it does, I'll be here waiting for you, ready to dissect the psychological truth behind your biggest money mistake. You've seen the myths about Gemini. They're always switching careers. They can't make up their minds. And they're just trying to be unpredictable for attention. But what if I told you that's not even close to the truth? The biggest money mistake Geminis make is often due to a core contradiction between what society expects of them and what they actually need. Gemini is the sign of communication, adaptability, and intellectual curiosity. They're naturally drawn to learning new things, exploring ideas, and connecting with people from diverse backgrounds. On the other hand, Gemini is also the sign of restlessness, discontent, and a desire for freedom. They feel suffocated by routine, structure, and conformity. As a result, Geminis often struggle with finding a career that aligns with their ever-changing interests and values. They might change jobs multiple times in search of something more stimulating, only to find themselves feeling unfulfilled and restless again. The problem isn't that they can't make up their minds. It's that society expects them to fit into predetermined roles or mold when Geminis are constantly seeking new challenges and experiences. This core contradiction leads to a pattern of financial mistakes, such as investing in too many projects or businesses at once, taking on too much debt, or quitting jobs without having another one lined up. It's not that they're reckless or impulsive. It's just that they're wired to respond to the thrill of discovery and the fear of missing out. And when they finally find something they love, they often get discouraged by the monotony of sustaining it over time. The truth is, Geminis need freedom, autonomy, and intellectual stimulation to thrive financially. They require a career that allows them to explore new ideas, collaborate with like-minded individuals, and continually challenge themselves. Anything less can lead to restlessness, discontent, and financial mistakes. So, if you're a Gemini looking for advice on how to manage your finances or navigate your career, remember, it's not about being unpredictable. It's about being authentic and true to yourself. You've made it through the whirlwind of Gemini's unpredictable nature, and now you're facing the harsh reality of their biggest money mistake. It's time to dive into the specific triggers that can push them over the edge. making them make decisions they'll regret for years to come. For a Gemini, the breaking point often starts with a sudden loss of control. Maybe it's a stock market crash, a business deal gone sour, or even a personal injury that leaves them unable to work. Whatever the trigger, it's essential to acknowledge their emotional response and help them see the situation from a more rational perspective. A Gemini's biggest fear is being trapped in a situation they can't escape. So anything that makes them feel limited or restricted will push them to the edge. This could be a sudden tax audit, a lawsuit threatening their business, or even a surprise medical bill that leaves them with no financial safety net. Whatever the trigger, it's crucial to recognize the emotional turmoil Gemini is experiencing and help them find ways to regain control. The breaking point for many Geminis is also linked to their fear of being seen as foolish or incompetent. If they've invested heavily in a business venture that's not working out, they may become desperate to salvage what's left. This desperation can lead them to make rash decisions, such as investing all their remaining assets in a single, high-risk gamble. When it comes to financial decisions, Gemini individuals often employ a defense mechanism that's both fascinating and terrifying: their tendency to engage in a scorched earth policy when faced with financial setbacks. This behavior is rooted in their innate fear of vulnerability and emotional pain, which can manifest as a ruthless abandonment of assets, investments, or even entire relationships. As a result, Geminis may frantically divest themselves of anything that's perceived as a threat to their emotional stability, often without considering the long-term consequences. This can lead to a pattern of impulsive decision-making, reckless spending, and an inability to form meaningful financial connections with others. They're desperately trying to shield themselves from potential hurt by destroying everything in sight. However, this defense mechanism comes at a steep cost: emotional numbness, strained relationships, and a deeply ingrained sense of mistrust. By perpetually severing ties with anything that might potentially harm them, Geminis inadvertently create a vacuum that's impossible to fill. They may find themselves alone, surrounded by the ruins of their own making, as they struggle to confront the root causes of their financial mistakes. As we dive into the world of Gemini, one characteristic that often gets overlooked is their struggle with validation. Behind their quick wit and adaptable nature, Geminis are secretly craving a sense of belonging and recognition. They're drawn to people who can see past their clever facade and appreciate them for who they truly are. However, this desire for validation can lead to an excessive need for external approval, causing them to constantly seek reassurance from others. This can be seen in their tendency to overshare on social media as a way to prove themselves to others. Geminis must learn to tap into their own inner source of validation and self-worth, rather than relying solely on the opinions of others. By recognizing this hidden pain point, we can begin to understand why Gemini's biggest money mistake is often tied to their inability to set healthy boundaries.